Hi everyone, what's brewing in the world of talent transformation? Welcome to the iMocha SIP Skills Intelligence podcast, where we explore the future of work and how skills first thinking is transforming talent strategy. I'm thrilled to welcome Pradnya Kulkarni as our guest today. With over 25 years of experience in HR, Pradnya now serves as Chief of Staff and Principal for India Business Operations, Performance and Planning, and Risk and Compliance at Telstra. She brings a unique blend of strategic foresight and human centered design to building equitable, future ready talent ecosystems. Today, we will discuss how organizations can build inclusive talent pipelines in an AI driven world, ensuring fairness, personalization, and scalability as talent roles grow more complex. Let's dive in. So, Pradnya, have you heard about this concept of a skill-based organization, and what are your thoughts around that?
So you're referring to specifically your organization?
No, this is basically the skill-based organization when an company like e-telecom or a banking wants to transform from maybe today they're making a lot of decisions based around jobs. From there starting to make the learning and development, starting to make the internal mobility decision based on the skills of the people, right? So it's more about transforming an organization into a skill-based organization.
Got it. But for you to move across, navigate through the organization, or take up wider, bigger roles, I think what you need is relevant skill sets. And so this whole investment in our talent to move them from one skill to widen their horizon, widen their skill set, so they could play different roles while still leveraging their domain expertise. We allow for that within the organization. So I'm actually a big supporter of this move and investing in our talent to hone their skill sets. And there are a couple ways, right? You could go deep into one, or you could be a generalist and you could broaden your skill sets and kind of dip your toes into each of the areas. And both are good. Organizations need people who have a wide-angled view, and then people who have deep expertise in one specific areas. So I'm actually a big supporter of this.
Right. So, have you seen any? Can you give us an example of where you saw a value of transforming the organization into a skill-based organization? That example can be in learning and development or in internal mobility, where you saw some benefits.
Yeah, sure. I think my time at HSBC, and we were huge then, almost 330,000 employees across the globe, and multiple locations. And therefore, the global mobility organization was really, really strong. And the only way for employees to find the right next challenge, if you will, was through this mobility organization, where we mapped the potential opportunities to lead with the talent and skills one need. And I was part of the talent and learning organization at that time, so I got to see this kind of firsthand. And we would run this exercise annually to see what's the trend, where are we headed in terms of leadership gaps, or what is required in the organization. And we would look at where our talent potential was, and identified a pool of our top talent. And then we started looking at, now what do we need to do to hone their skills further? And that's when the learning organization came into play, with assessments, giving them experiential training. And what we saw was the opportunities to close some of these roles internally was higher than some of the other competitors that I was aware of, where most of the times when there is a need for a role, one would just simply go out and in the market and hire the talent from external world. So this was best seen when our own associates who've been with the organization for so long could get an opportunity to play a wider role, different role, and also get learning on the job, if you will. And this was possible because there was a team who was looking at doing this, who was identifying the opportunities and the resources, plus identifying what the gaps were, and then looking at how to support them. So I think this was a classic case of how the Global Mobility Organization and talent organizations supported the overall organization's need to fill those opportunities.
Great. So it's a very good example where you're saying about that having a skill-based organization which is more data-driven, you're able to
Correct.
close the open positions more from internal talent than always relying on the external talent pool.
Exactly. And I mean, all you can do with an external recruitment process is spend what, 45 minutes to an hour assessing. And you go a lot with your gut, even though you've got your data in front of you. I would much rather invest in my own associates who's been with the organization, knows the organization well, knows the people well, and then spend time investing in them in those specific skill gaps that the organization has identified.
Interesting. So, Pradnya, same example around having moved from a job-based to a skill-based organization. One an example which is you have experience or even a thought process around how would it help for learning and development teams having more skill-based initiatives? How does it help the learning and development teams?
Um, well, how it helps them is one, they understand the organization also better through this lens. They know uh, the key factor here is for L&D organization to understand that what are the foundational skills that are required from our associates. And then you can identify what are the top up skills that one needs to get someone ready, future ready for these roles, right? And so it has to be a collaboration with the domain experts, of course, telling you that if I need XYZ skills, it's the first action for anyone is to just go out in the market and find someone who exactly fits the bill. That's the default behavior, one would say. But here, the L&D organization, through this initiative, gets a good sense of that if I need someone with these skill sets, I should look for what talent in the organization already exists with that skill set minus one. And what are the interventions that I can plan for to help our associates become future ready. So I think it helps them understand the organization up close. Otherwise, almost always we look at L&D as leaderships and soft skills training that's required, which are most of the time generic off the shelf requirements, or you look for technical skill sets through boot camps and others. Again, you just go out to the market, look for bespoke agencies that are looking at specific interventions, to train on those skills. So L&D in-house team kind of misses out on understanding the organization better, and then being able to play their part and contribute and support just entire uplift of all the associates uh, with what the organization needs.
That's pretty interesting. So, in your uh, experience, how can organizations ensure that AI doesn't reinforce historical skills or opportunity biases when
Mhm.
evaluating the
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I don't think AI is new. It's just newly relevant right now. So I still feel AI is kind of a work in progress. Especially, I think last 2-3 years is where I'm seeing when the tools like ChatGPT and all those made AI more accessible to people, more useful to kind of everyday people, right? So what changed there was not the tech part; it was just the human connection. Because AI could started writing, summarizing, conversing, coaching. We all use Copilot extensively in our organization. Some of these tasks which were so deeply human, so I think we started looking at AI as more, how do I put it, digital collaborator rather than digital cruncher, if you will. And so that's really where the opportunity lies in leveraging AI. But exactly to your question, that's where the responsibility also begins. What AI is doing is nothing but leveraging the data or the information that already exists in the organization, no? And that comes with our own biases, comes with our own mindset, and it's simply amplifying, if you will, our existing biases. So it is absolutely essential if you're designing an AI system that it's intentionally human centered and equitable. Um, and so there are, um, I think, lot of organizations who are using AI in their usual hiring, talent management, learning opportunities. I've seen most of the organizations that I engage with or people that we know from, they all are using this and they all have a potential to de-bias those algorithms, if I may. Uh, but someone has to intentionally look at it because if it's poorly designed, as I said, it will amplify those existing biases. Uh, but what I have also seen some organizations do quite well when they're adapting talent management, uh, faster hiring, because AI has the ability to identify those biases. And so I think if it is designed properly, and we don't rush to just embed AI in our hiring, development, and promotions, but um, if our data, our decisions, our blind spots, they all are identified and ensured that they are embedded in that system. I think AI plays a huge role in how we hire, how we evaluate, how we are developing our talent. And so it's not about just efficiency, it's more the equity that we are looking for, right? Um, and I've seen when AI supports our decisions, so who gets seen, who is heard, who is promoted, who's not. Uh, we need to ask that question that where is this data learning from, right? Uh, whose potential is being recognized or whose potential is being overlooked. And so these challenges in embedding fairness, they all exist, but there is a systemic way in which we can, I think, overcome them, whether it's the blind spots, whether it's ethical leadership, whether it is just the opportunity for cross-functional collaboration, or just the biases that we spoke of in the data that exists, no? Or regulatory compliances as well, if I think about it. And we in our organization definitely use Copilot for even simply knowing what are some of the regulatory changes in the market, and have we got controls in place um, as a response to those new obligations that are coming or the regulatory changes that are happening.
Different elements which can control the biases of the AI. So it's more of the design thinking elements you need to,
Exactly.
right, when you
Correct.
design AI for your
Correct.
organization.
Yeah, because if you're just going to use simply the existing data, then it will come with the existing biases, right? And if the data is used to train the AI models, it will reflect those historical biases and it will perpetuate them as well. Um, so you have to intentionally design it in a way that it doesn't amplify these blind spots or
You're,
biases.
so you're saying you have to put the filters of ethical AI
Right,
on the data.
right up front. Correct, before you start using it, before you start executing it. Otherwise, you get exactly what your current mindset of the organization is. You get exactly the biases that exist in the system today. You're not advancing it by leveraging AI.
So more, I would say on the same lines, right? What metrics should organization track to measure whether their AI-powered talent strategies are truly inclusive and effective? So I'll
Yeah,
repeat the question. What
yeah.
metrics should organizations track to measure whether their AI-powered talent strategies are truly inclusive and effective?
Yeah. So back to where is AI being used primarily? I think screening, a lot of recruitment, heavily using, they've automated the screening process. And almost 70% of, and I'm speaking from just a few organizations that I've worked with. I was in TA. I started off with TA as my first role. Um, the time it used to take us to screen profiles then to what I'm seeing now, I would say almost 60 to 70% of the screening happens just by leveraging AI. So that's your metric right there in terms of how much time one has to spend in looking through and screening CVs to arrive at one offer. And of course, you're using it at all levels, even in interview stage. You are using AI to filter out your one from the resume, two from the answers provided by our candidate. And so reduced time to hire is the first metric I would suggest, which is a great measure of how AI is supporting us. Um, we are using AI for our onboarding purposes as well. So I think candidate experience is the second metric I would see, and almost all organizations run a survey after, say, 7 days, 30 days, etc., to know how the experience was. And with AI, you could start this exercise right with the first touch point that you had with a potential candidate just through LinkedIn, maybe. And AI can keep assisting them with automated notifications, taking them through the process, one category to the other, and that helps the bandwidth of the recruiting team. So I would say almost, again, 40 to 50% of the time of our recruiters is now taken up by AI, the chatbots, asking people, what else do you need to know? Are you doing okay? Just faster query resolution. So that's the second that comes to my mind in terms of metrics. Um, just keeping in the TA space for a moment, just the data that tells us predictive analysis, I would say, in hiring. So looking at our experience, how much time would it take for us to hire 10 Java engineers, for example? We can predict this much faster now than we could earlier. And so our SLAs are reduced. We can take on more. Uh, these are immediate top of mind metrics from a TA perspective. I would even use the metric around how many resources you could close internally versus externally. That tells you the quality of your talent within the organization and your appetite as an organization to invest in your resources in promoting, developing your talent. So I would even look at the metric of closures through internal job posting versus external. Um, Primarily in the recruitment space is where I would measure the metrics. I would do so in the talent management space as well with succession planning. I would do the same with learning. How many associates spend time on the job learning versus structured learning in the system? So thanks to AI, people now can consume learning at their pace. They can consume bite-sized learning, which wasn't the case earlier. And so our associates' ability to learn more faster and stay relevant, I think that has increased. And that's one metric, certainly, that would give us a sense of how we are leveraging AI in our organization.
So you give different metrics. You give the metrics for talent acquisition, you give the metrics for talent management, and you also give a metrics
Learning.
learning and development. So that's pretty interesting. That's like we can break it into three different things and understand how the metrics really help. Because one thing is you can say, I'm implementing AI in my organization, I'm building implementing AI in the HR tech, in the HR team. We are more HR tech now. But then
Yeah,
what is measurement of success? And the measurement of success cannot be technology. It has to be business outcomes of HR, right? Which,
exactly.
and if you can correlate that, then only you can really say AI is helping me to solve this, but more ethically as well. Or maybe
Exactly.
uh, keeping in mind that it's unbiased and it's doing the job well.
Yeah. I mean, leaders need to be fluent in technology, ethics, and culture. That's a given. So I think AI literacy is not an option anymore. It's kind of essential. Um, so AI is used responsibly, and leaders, I think, must challenge as well the outputs that you get leveraging AI, not just blindly trust it, because examples like inclusion and DEI, we say we are leveraging AI in the DEI and inclusion equity space. But I still feel that as leaders, we must kind of challenge the output a little bit, and question if we are really seeing equity, and are the AI systems fair and human centered, if you will.
So making AI in your case more equitable to take the right talent decisions that need to continuously being monitored, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think you should blindly trust, because it's still a work in progress largely. Most organizations say they use AI, but it's still evolving. And as in how more and more people leverage it, more accurate data goes into the system, is when you'll start kind of benefiting from the output as well. So we still need to have the human intervention on every AI outcome we receive. I mean, as simple as these days we use Teams and we use Copilot heavily. So it does all the meeting notes for you at the end of the call, and you can just simply send it. But I still don't trust that it captures everything and narrates it the way one needs to. And so you would always need to review it and slightly fine tune it before you may want to send it everywhere. So there is still that human intervention, which I think is very much required.
Great. So, Pradnya, my next question is more about innovation and fairness. So, what role do ethical AI frameworks play in balancing innovation and fairness, especially uh, when we talk about skill-based hiring or skill-based development?
What? Say that once again.
So,
Um,
question:
what? Hmm.
what role do ethical AI frameworks play in balancing innovation and fairness, especially in skill-based hiring and development? So the question is more about balancing the innovation with AI, and
Yeah.
second, getting the fairness through ethical AI. So
Yeah.
what
No.
uh, will it play?
Yeah. No. Agree. And as I just said, that AI influences or plays a role in every activity of ours: how we hire, how we evaluate, how we develop talent, how we innovate. So it's no longer just, as I said, about efficiency. What we need to look for is equity in that. What we need to look for is fairness in that. And as we just spoke, some of the inherent challenges in embedding that fairness is the bias, for example, right? The existing data has the bias, and therefore, chances are that the output that you would get leveraging AI for innovation or anything else, it reflects those historical bias. It, in fact, perpetuates it as well in its decision making. So, the balance that you have to manage is the human intervention. Um, and you can't escape that. I think your experiences as a leader, your experience of being in the organization, knowing the dynamics of the organization, knowing where we are headed, what decisions align best with where we want to be, those things are understood by the leadership of the organization. And hence, that inputs from the leaders to the outcomes of AI, um, that balance has to be drawn. So, when you spoke of ethical leadership, as I just said, that we don't have a choice but be really, really fluent in technology, ethics, the culture, because AI has to be used responsibly. The challenges that you would get in AI outputs, you can't just blindly trust it. You have to have an intervention. The advantages, of course, also of leveraging AI is it's just such a broad landscape. every individual is limited to thinking through their experiences or maybe the circle of influence they have and the conversations they have had. Here, you've got a database where you've got information from tons of people who have been there, done that. So it's kind of leveraging off of experiences of all the people whose information is in the database. So you obviously are going to get a much better output if you leverage AI for your innovation, for your new strategic initiatives, just ideation, learn from the best. So it's kind of a difficult fine balance that needs to be drawn between output of AI and whether it suits where your company is headed and is it aligned or not. So the human intervention behind that.
So, my next question is more on employee adoption, right? Would you, how do you see employees getting a message that the decisions about their career paths, their
Mm,
learning,
mm,
ability are more driven by AI, right? Rather than their managers or their HR, because previously it was more human. Now it
yes.
is more AI. So how do you see employees taking this, and different set of employees you can answer? Maybe somebody who is in
Yeah.
their 20s, somebody who is in their 30s, and then somebody who's in their 40s, right? Because technology would
Yeah.
have a different impact on an individual. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah. No, this is an interesting one because I have 2 points of view. One, AI definitely helps you um, kind of structure your career path. If the system knows what are your skill sets, what are your experiences, where you're really good at, if you've taken some of the assessments, it gives you your results as well and tells you objectively what you're good at, what is your potential to do more, etc. And then at an organization level, you also have your job requisitions. So the organization knows where we need talent and it can match and it can give me a good sense of here are the potential opportunities to grow. So this is one point of view where employees should be very happy that they now at their tip of their finger, they know what are their potential next opportunities and where should they be focusing on. But at the same time, I know that the database on which that AI is built is what I am entering manually. So I may say that I am great at Java. I may say that I am great at people management, but the yardstick I would choose would be different from someone else. So unless this is driven organization wide on a same yardstick, that information isn't really true for me as a people leader to leverage. So if the system throws me that here are 5 people who have the experience for my position that I am hiring, I'm not sure if I can blindly trust the system. So I would still want to do the manual screening and assessing of the associate who says, "Oh, I'm great at this skill set." So I still have, two very conflicting points of view. And I think this is so because it's still in nascent stages. Once over a period of time, we've figured out how precisely to assess everybody through the same measure, and then we create a database, we can be so sure that if the system is suggesting person A to me, that's because they've gone through whatever assessments that we've put there, objectively reviewed, has looked at the experiences that the person has, and I can believe to a great extent that will be suitable. So we're not yet there, I think, and therefore you will see employees who don't trust this process still as much. And you'll see those who are like, oh, I'm so happy it's telling me exactly which are the new positions I could apply to. I don't have to go searching for it. The system is helping me. So I've seen people in both categories.
So you're saying while it's still not up to there that AI will make its own decision,
Yeah,
and even if the AI is making some, providing some data for decision making, it's still not the whole data. You would like to rely on
absolutely.
some human data points,
Absolutely.
and take a collective decision. Maybe because of AI, it will faster the process, but you don't want to completely automate the process.
I don't think we are yet there, and this is my personal view. So I would not leverage. it 100%. I would take that input, and then I would do a manual intervention of assessing and asking some tricky questions, and digging deeper into during the interview and say, why do you think you are here, etc. So taking
What
my own gut feel and assessment as well.
do you personally prefer in your organization? Having an AI coach or having a human coach?
Oh my God. Is it an either or question? I would prefer both actually. I would, as I said, my first layer is an AI coach and then the human intervention. I would trust the system to a great extent, but not for my final decision making. I would prefer someone not just listening, and AI can do that, listen and offer advice. But I need that human intervention. It could be also because I'm a Gen X, and maybe a different generation would probably trust the system a little bit more.
Great. So, what is, according to your bigger threat in uh, HR today? AI bias or data privacy?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I think data privacy would be a bigger threat, according to me. As I said, AI bias is nothing but replicating the existing human biases in the system and the mindset in the system. So it can't be worse off than what it is right now. But using AI, it's just opened the doors to so much data. And unless you're very rigid and structured about the accesses, who views what data, for what purpose it is being used, it's so easy to take some information and use it for some completely different initiative, not realizing that through this we are opening up access to personal information. Um, so I feel right to privacy or data privacy is a slightly bigger threat um, than AI bias. So there's a policy, right? Government regulation that for we every organization needs to provide a crash facility to all their associates within 500 meters of the office. And so we went ahead and identified which are such companies available. And of course, they had to meet all our high standards, so all the criteria, etc. But then the organization needs information of your employees in terms of their phone number and email ID. That's the basic information they're going to need to cater to their child, who they'll service. However, the systems they use, it's not foolproof. So we as an organization are not sure of the standards they apply to protect that data that will sit on their portal, even though it's just phone number. It's our employees' information. So this was a classic dilemma for us where we needed to be compliant to the regulation and provide them the opportunity to access the crash facility. And it was meeting all other criteria, but only because they didn't have very strong data privacy for their information sitting on their tool. We had to, come back and say, no, we'll look at someone else. So again, this was a human intervention, and we wanted to apply our own standards of data privacy rather than use what AI had suggested to us. These are the two companies, they met all your criteria, they are within your 500 meters, etc. So just thought of this one example.
This is a good example around data privacy. Very simple, but a real life example.
Yeah, yeah.
So my last question, if you're like your recommendation for any HR teams when they are adopting AI,
Hmm.
what are the top three or the best? What are the best practices they should implement for implementing ethical AI in the HR tech stack?
Sure. Top of mind. So firstly, the team that is making the decision, you must have your SME on that group. The person who has been doing this for so long, who knows precisely what filters to apply, what criteria to apply. And the fact that this person has been working with you all these years, in managing those controls, it's the best person to review and apply those filters in here. So one is I would recommend that that person stays on your team for the decision making. Two, a lot of due diligence. And what I mean by that is there are so many tools available off the shelf as well today. However, reaching out through your network and assessing basically which are the companies who have used the tool, what have been the challenges, what have been the benefits. So you do your due diligence by talking to people who have actually accessed these tools. They've executed these in their organization. So that's the second. And I would say don't rush to. At the end of the day, having the system using AI, it definitely benefits you in terms of your bandwidth also. So you can do better job of decision making, influencing, talking to the right people, etc. If a large chunk of your work is taken up by AI. So by all means, go ahead with this, but don't rush into it. Because as I said, AI is still a work in progress. It comes with its own biases inherent in the system. It comes with its own blind spots that we come to know much, much later, actually. And there might be certain AI that might overlook certain groups or individuals who don't fit the traditional criteria. And so being conscious of that. Um, I would also suggest cross-functional collaboration. I mean, that's true in almost all cases, but more so here because when you want to embed fairness, I think it requires a lot of collaboration between the tech teams, the equity teams, the HR teams from a performance metrics perspective, from a fairness perspective, mindsets, you need to have the right combination of leaders and executives. So I would say cross-functional collaboration. And lastly, from a regulatory perspective, regulatory compliances. So you have to ensure that your AI systems are complying with the regulations. Um, these are 5 or 6 that come to mind. I would recommend.
Interesting. This is very helpful. But from your side, any closing statements from your side which can help organization build talent pipelines in an AI-driven world where ensuring there is fairness, personalization, and also scalability.
Mm. Yeah, no, I mean, most of what I already spoke, but the one thing that I want to add on this is see if you can have generational diversity when you are making a decision. Because we also come with some of our preconceived notions and biases, but then our appetite and tolerance is different by generation. And I'm speaking from experience on this that a younger generation would be faster to adapt to something and may want to experiment something, but um, some of the older generation may want to think through, do the due diligence, look at things. So having a combination of these diverse generations would also be helpful. By all means, we should adapt AI and all the benefits that it brings, especially in HR. As I said, all gamut of HR, right from screening, contact center. I mean, most organizations have set up HR contact centers so that the relationship managers or business partners could really engage with the senior leadership and co-create the people agenda, if you will. And this is possible only because their day jobs have been now taken over by AI and they've simplified it. So whether it's just answering your associates precisely what policy support they're looking for, any information that they're looking for, they don't have to wait for an HR business partner to be available, right? They can ask this question to the chatbot at any point in time and get the relevant information. So HR is a place where you have maximum opportunity to leverage AI and use your HR expertise for more important pieces of work that will help the organization thrive, whether it's well-being of your employees, whether it's your DEI agenda, leadership development. There is so much plethora of really good work that can be done by HR, and so it'll be possible if you have, uh, designed an AI system to help you with your day job.
Great. Thanks a lot for that closing statement. Very helpful and valuable insights. I guess a lot of HR teams, as you said, different age groups would learn and take have a good takeaways from this podcast. Good. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks a lot for a wonderful 1 hour, and especially on the ethical AI and the
Thank you.
examples what you gave were very simple and to the point, much more needed for a daily life, right? Because sometimes you read some blogs and all, and they're very complex things, and then you forget what is the simplicity. I liked in the conversation that
Thank
simplicity
you.
you're getting around AI, around more equitable AI and the HR tech and the people element around it. So that was pretty interesting.
Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to all
Thanks.
of you.
Thanks a lot, Pradnya.